Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, making a deal in Mission Valley. The city and San Diego State University are millions apart. Can the two sides settle on a price for the stadium land? In Chula Vista and across the U.S., a protest marked by red paint. Critics of Columbus Day vandalized statues that honor the explorer.
Climate change is a planetary emergency. Basically, our house is on fire.
Climate action in San Diego, activists say they're escalating their tactics to get one local congressman on board.
We have a policy, and the policy is if we break it, we'll take care of it. We're responsible for that.
And they don't make them like they used to. We investigate why more of San Diego's trash bins are breaking and why it costs you money. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Monday, October 14th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Priya Sridhar. Until now, the negotiations have been behind closed doors, but now the San Diego City Council is openly discussing the plan to sell the Mission Valley Stadium site to SDSU. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has an update on where things stand. Andrew?
Well, Priya, SDSU has already offered to pay the city $68.2 million for the stadium property. The university wants that property for a campus expansion, housing, and a new stadium for Aztec football games. It says the offer is the same as an independent appraisal, and when taken with other community improvements they're offering, the full package is actually worth more than $150 million.
Today, we have thoughtfully considered our public mission and the broader community needs in bringing our purchase offer to you. This offer represents not only fair market value, but a fair and equitable price to the tax-paying public we both represent and support.
But the offer of $68.2 million takes discounts for the demolition of the existing stadium and building a new river park. The city says those discounts mean taxpayers are effectively footing the bill for those things. And that goes against last year's ballot measure that authorized this sale. The city says a fairer price is closer to $86 million. Now, the City Council is not taking a vote tonight on whether to accept SDSU's offer. Instead, they're giving feedback and laying out their conditions for the sale. Negotiations will continue now with a bit more transparency, and SDSU hopes to get a final deal approved by the City Council by the end of the year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
For that report. Well, it's Columbus Day in America, but the explorer's legacy is not universally celebrated. Today in Chula Vista, police say a Columbus statue was vandalized. The statue is in Discovery Park and was also targeted earlier this year. City crews cleaned off the paint, but we're seeing this across the country. Noel Bello has this report from San Francisco.
Yeah, it's disturbing. We can express our displeasure in other way.
Covered from head to toe in red paint, the Christopher Columbus statue outside Coit Tower drew some unwanted attention Sunday.
I just saw it. I was just like, what happened to Christopher?
Hundreds made their way to the top of the hill to see the Blue Angels grace the skies, but upon arrival, couldn't believe the view.
It's really great from up here, and unfortunately, whoever decided to face this statue, that's just a terrible thing to do.
Weird juxtaposition. Yeah, well, and that's so strange. We're in this beautiful city that would never have been possible were it not for our civilization and our country and our armed forces. So it's like we're surrounded by the beauty and grandeur of this civilization, and yet there's people who just openly hate it.
The vandalism is believed to have taken place sometime overnight and originally included writing that read "Kill all colonizers." By 3:30 in the afternoon, a public works crew arrived to scrub and spray the paint off.
I mean, we all know he's got blood on his hands, and I see it is on his hands as well, so.
Gina Williams says her grandparents were part Apache, and though she understands the intention of whomever did it, she doesn't think this is the way to send a message.
Well, there's other ways to get your point across. This was unnecessary. Yeah. And these are our tax dollars. Got to clean this. Like, you made the mess. Do you realize it's still coming out of your pocket? People don't think. They just don't think.
There are surveillance cameras on the property, but it's not clear how much of the vandalism the video was able to catch. San Francisco police tell me they are investigating.
That was Noel Bello reporting, and this is a look at how Indigenous Peoples Day was observed on the campus of SDSU. The Native American Student Alliance organized the event. Members of the Kumeyaay Nation were on to perform songs from their culture. And for the first time, Governor Gavin Newsom proclaimed October 14th as Indigenous Peoples Day in California. A 9-year-old girl has become dangerously sick while in Border Patrol custody. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler says she's been held longer than allowed and has not received medical care.
According to a court filing submitted on Saturday, the girl and her mother had applied for asylum here at the San Ysidro Port of Entry this past May. They had been repeatedly sent back to Mexico as part of the Remain in Mexico policy, under which thousands of asylum seekers have been returned to Mexico to wait out their asylum claims. But after a hearing on October 4th, they were detained at a Border Patrol station and since have been unable to meet with their lawyers. Both mother and daughter have become sick at the station and have not received medical care, the court filing states. Erica Pinheiro is an attorney for the 9-year-old.
The most disturbing thing we're hearing is that people are frequently getting sick, either with respiratory illness or stomach illness, and they're not receiving any medical attention while in CBP custody.
A decades-old precedent known as the Flores Settlement Agreement limits the amount of time that a minor can stay in CBP custody to 72 hours. The Trump administration is challenging the agreement in court. CBP has admitted to routinely violating the agreement because of space and logistical concerns. CBP says it could not comment on the specific case due to pending litigation. Since our original story aired on KPBS radio this morning, lawyers for the girl have told us that CBP is planning on releasing the girl and her mother as soon as today. We will continue to update the story. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
Congress is back in session and the House's impeachment inquiry is taking new steps today. CNN's Lauren Fox tells us about the closed-door testimony from a former top advisor to President Trump.
The impeachment inquiry kicking off today with high-profile testimony from the president's former top Russia advisor, Fiona Hill. Hill is the first person from the White House to testify in the inquiry, trying to determine if President Trump pressured Ukraine to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden, in exchange for military aid. Democrats hope the closed-door hearing will shed light on what role the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, played in influencing Ukraine's government. Hill was no longer serving as President Trump's top Russian advisor at the time of the controversial July 25th call with the Ukrainian president. But according to the New York Times, part of her testimony today is expected to include that Giuliani was running a shadow diplomacy effort in Ukraine. House Republicans blasting House Intel Committee Chairman Adam Schiff for issuing a subpoena to Hill, despite her willingness to testify.
She was going to come. She'd agreed to come. She was going to come voluntarily. But he's going to subpoena her, I believe, so he can ask certain questions and, again, keep those secret, except for the certain things that he wants to leak.
One official working on the inquiry tells CNN the subpoena was necessary because the White House has prevented so many witnesses from testifying. This as a slew of deadlines for administration officials to hand over documents hits this week, and private hearings are expected to ramp up. On Thursday, Gordon Sondland, the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, is also set to testify under subpoena, where, according to the Washington Post, he will allegedly tell members the president directed him to send a text message stating there was no quid pro quo when pressed on why the U.S. was withholding nearly $400 million in military aid to Ukraine. The Post also reporting Sondland will testify he had no idea whether the president was telling him the truth. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State George Kent and the counsel to the State Department, Ulrich Breckball, are also scheduled to appear on Capitol Hill this week, though it's unclear if they will show.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, as U.S. troops withdraw from northern Syria on President Trump's order, the Kurds seek new support amid fears of a resurgent Islamic State. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
New details on the death of Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs. A member of the LA Angels staff says he provided and used drugs with the player for years. Skaggs died in July due to a mix of alcohol and opioids. Eric Kay, who works in media relations for the Angels, says the team knew about Skaggs' drug use. This weekend, the team put out a statement denying the claim. It says it's cooperating with a federal investigation into Skaggs' death. San Diego County Supervisors tomorrow will discuss a ban on vaping products in unincorporated areas. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento says a local tobacco researcher is concerned it may have an adverse effect.
Our nation is in the midst of a grave and fast-growing public health crisis.
That's Supervisor Diane Jacob 2 weeks ago announcing a plan to ban vaping products and devices. She and Supervisor Nathan Fletcher want to block the sale of flavored products that appeal to youth. They also want a temporary ban on vaping devices, while federal agencies pinpoint what's causing the vaping-related illnesses. The proposal makes UC San Diego's Shuhong Zhu concerned. He leads the university's Center for Research and Intervention in Tobacco Control. Zhu says a ban may reduce usage, but it'll push other people to buy unregulated products, which federal agencies suspect are making people sick.
So if you just outright ban it and not able to actually stop people from using the product, then you actually increase the likelihood people getting these products from black market.
Supervisor Fletcher says the ban is a necessary step to address the growing usage among youth and the risk of illness. Nearly 1,300 Americans have been sickened, including 22 in San Diego County. More than 24 have died across the U.S.
If you had a situation where you had all of this evidence that this is a problem and people were not acting, there would be a rash of outcry for why are you not trying to do something to make the problem better. But by no means, so I think what we're doing is going to magically solve everything.
Fletcher and Jacob are also calling for a campaign to warn the public about vaping's health dangers. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
The daily routine could be changing for families with teenagers. That's because California's schools are going to a later start time. Governor Newsom signed a bill that phases in the changes over a 2-year period. Middle schools will start no sooner than 8 a.m. and high schools no sooner than 8:30. The law will not apply to some rural schools or optional early classes known as 0 periods. And a reminder of some of the recently signed bills with local ties. One clears the way for construction of the Pure Water project by ensuring it will be built by union members. Another bans the sale of guns and ammunition at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, likely bringing an end to gun shows. Improved weather conditions are helping firefighters near LA. The Saddle Ridge fire burned through the weekend in Porter Ranch and surrounding areas. It started Thursday night under a red flag warning. Dozens of buildings burned. One man died of a heart attack while trying to protect his home. No word yet on the fire's cause. KPBS covered the precautionary outages that affected millions of Californians last week. You might think alternative energy like solar would help, but as Capital Public Radio's Chris Nichols reports, very few were able to keep the lights on.
Solar on most homes only works when the customer is connected to the power grid, unless you have your own solar battery storage, which is less common. The reason the panels shut off? Safety, according to Audrey Lee of the national solar company Sunrun.
It's actually a requirement for our solar inverters that they do shut down, and that's because in an outage we wouldn't want the power from the solar to flow back onto the grid, and if there was a utility employee working on that grid, that backflow power would be very dangerous for them.
Solar battery storage systems cost several $1,000s in addition to your panels. Lee of Sunrun says she expects strong demand for those given California's recent and widespread outages. And starting next year, a new law requires solar panels on all new homes in the state. Chris Nichols, Cap Radio News.
Amtrak is boosting its service in San Diego. Starting today, an additional train will run along the Pacific Surfliner route between San Diego and LA. And those coming to San Diego will get plenty of sunshine this week. Marvin Gomez has tonight's forecast.
Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you had a great start of your work week as we get things started here, starting the work week with this afternoon. Temperatures making their way into the low 70s and dry weather has been in place for most of the region. A couple of coastal clouds, and as we head into tonight and also tomorrow morning, we are going to see some of those low clouds even making themselves inland into the valleys. We are going to see a slight warm up as we head into the middle of the work week, and gusty winds are going to be along the mountains and the deserts also by the time we head into the second half of the work week. Taking a look at temperatures across San Diego County for tonight, Oceanside coming down to 47 degrees, San Diego 59, Chula Vista 56, and Borrego Springs 58 degrees, the low for tonight. As we take you into our Tuesday, lots of sunshine across most of the region. Again, we are going to be waking up to some morning low clouds across Oceanside. 77 degrees will be the high for tomorrow, 75 heading into San Diego, and those clouds are going to be dissolving relatively quickly throughout the morning. As we take a look at Ramona, 85 for tomorrow, and here's your AccuWeather extended forecast along the coast. Temperatures will stay in the mid to upper 70s as we head into our Tuesday, 79 for Wednesday, and then temperatures once again staying in the mid 70s heading into our Thursday. Definitely some low clouds as we get going through the rest of the week. Inland, temperatures are going to be around 83 heading into Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we are going to see upper 80s across much of the many areas inland. As we take you into the mountains, 67 the high on Tuesday, Wednesday reaching 69, and then we're going to be cooling down to 64 on Thursday. Keep in mind, the mountains are going to be windy on that day. Also, the deserts, it's going to be windy as well. 92 degrees on Tuesday, 94 heading into our Wednesday. Mostly sunny conditions across the deserts. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez.
As everyone knows, there is no such thing as a free lunch or, in San Diego, a free trash bin. While people who live in single-family homes don't pay for trash pickup, they do pay in other ways. Residents must pay $95 to get a replacement trash bin if theirs is broken. And as KPBS investigative reporter Claire Trageser found, broken bins happen a lot.
It's been kind of a frustrating situation.
It's shocking. It's not something that we expect.
I don't love it. No, I mean, I wish I didn't have to. So yes, I do mind. Just it's the last thing that you would expect to see when you come home.
Yeah, frustration, anger was all part of the emotional package.
Why are these people mad? Because of their trash bins. All of them had bins damaged by City of San Diego trucks, and all were told they'd have to pay for replacement bins at $70 each plus $25 for delivery. And they're not alone. The number of replacement bins ordered by residents has increased by 42% over the past 10 years. If you lined up all the bins ordered just in the last year end to end, they would stretch almost 10 miles. That's like from Ocean Beach to SDSU. KPBS analyzed the records and found San Carlos residents were the most likely to order replacement bins. Since 2015, more than a third of the neighborhood's residents have ordered a new bin. Also high on the list were the portion of Del Mar that falls inside San Diego city limits, Carmel Mountain, and Sorrento Valley. The neighborhoods least likely to order replacement bins were Barrio Logan and Gaslamp. Remember, that doesn't necessarily mean there are fewer broken bins there, just that residents are less likely to shell out for a new one. And in 2018, residents spent more than $1 million on replacement bins. But the city says not everyone has to pay.
We have a policy, and the policy is if we break it, we'll take care of it. We're responsible for that.
Eden Carter is a district manager with the city's Environmental Collection Services Department.
So the drivers will actually let us know they made a mistake. You know, it was broken, we did it, we dragged it, it fell over, we're responsible for it. They relay that to their supervisor, and then we actually in turn will give them another container.
But this is not always the case.
When we said that we have video of the driver actually smashing it on the ground, they said, well, you know, that's just part and parcel with it.
When Rancho Penasquitos resident Ramon Henares arrived home to a broken bin a few months ago, he checked his security camera and saw the culprit. A city trash truck had skewered his can and shook it back and forth, trying to break free. But when he took that evidence to the city, it didn't matter.
We told them specifically, we do have video of your drivers doing it, and they said, yeah, the person on the phone was just saying, yeah, the drivers, they'll from time to time cause some issues, but that's not our liability.
KPBS asked the city how many damaged bins in the last year were replaced for free, and the answer came back, just 9. But what is causing the broken bins to begin with? In 2009, the city switched to a new type of bin that is less flexible and more easy to break. Eden Carter with the city says the reason they use the new bins is simple. They're cheaper.
It's a bidding process.
Another issue is the trash trucks. Carter says they have a set speed for picking up trash.
10 seconds going up, that 10 seconds.
But KPBS observed most trash pickups happening faster than that, which means the gripping action on the bins might not be as gentle, potentially causing cracks. And as any physicist will tell you, increasing the acceleration of picking up and putting down the bin also increases the force when the lid flips back and swings into the bin. But not everyone has the money or the willingness to pay for a new bin.
We have just left it like this. We don't want to pay for a bin because we obviously didn't do the damage.
He says if he can't get a free one, he'll just wait until his falls apart completely. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
And tomorrow we'll tell you about the history of why San Diegans get free trash pickup and how it's contributing to damaged bins. We saw it earlier this month, San Diego 350, a local group of climate advocates taking over the office of Congressman Scott Peters. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson spoke with the group's executive director about its dispute with Peters over the Green New Deal.
Let's talk about the Green New Deal. What is it? When you think of the Green New Deal, what are you envisioning it to be?
It's the only proposed policy that really addresses the climate crisis at the scale of the problem. And it's a public program that invests in people and infrastructure in order to transform our energy sector and our economy as the science demands. And it also prioritizes working families and frontline communities.
The framework that it sets up, what does that look like or sound like?
The UN report has told us that we have about 10 years to really reduce carbon pollution in the atmosphere. And so it first of all sets expectations that we will meet those reductions, and it envisions the large financial investment that would be required to really transform our economy into a clean energy economy.
Of the 4 Democrats, Peters is the only one who's not supporting it. Do you accept his explanation for why?
Well, he's said that he supports the climate parts of the Green New Deal, but not the equity parts. But that's problematic because we know that the climate crisis is going to severely disrupt our entire economy. And so we need to make sure that climate solutions not only reduce carbon pollution, but also create jobs.
Have you sat down and talked to the congressman about this?
Basically, he's told us that he supports the climate part of the Green New Deal, but not the equity part. And he also has said that he has a problem with the fact that it's a resolution. But he hasn't suggested alternative, really bold, comprehensive climate action like the Green New Deal. We're not married to the Green New Deal, but we need something at that scale that will really accomplish the goals in the short window that we have available to do that.
You've tried to convince him to change his position. Tell me what that's been like for you. What have you done, and kind of where is that going?
We have tried to change his position, and I'll just say that I do think that the campaign has been successful because since the beginning of the campaign, both Representatives Vargas and Davis have come on board to co-sponsor the Green New Deal. And I also think that Representative Peters has engaged on the issue much more than he had previously. And so far, we have sent postcards, we have made phone calls, we have met with the congressman, we've held rallies outside his office. But
you held rallies inside of his office, too.
Yes, but I was going to say we haven't, We didn't take that step lightly. We really tried a range of actions prior to that to convince him, because, you know, climate change is a planetary emergency. Basically, our house is on fire, and it's unfortunate that many of our elected officials, including Representative Peters, have really failed to take the bold climate action required.
When you look at the efforts to draw attention to this issue, what gives you hope?
I'd say that more than anything else at this point, what gives me hope is the large numbers of young people who are taking action to combat climate change.
That interview is from the KPBS Climate Change Desk. You can find more stories at kpbs.org, including Eric Anderson's report on how California's wildfires make it harder to reach the state's emission goals. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Banning gun shows at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Now that a new law is signed, we have reaction from both sides of this issue. And on Midday Edition, KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando tells us about the San Diego Italian Film Festival. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.